Welcome back, Helldivers. It's Sakura. By now, you all know how much I love the Spear. It's long range, it's one of the single strongest rounds in the game, and when it works, its reticle provides some of the easiest target acquisition in the entire game. When it works. It's also a weapon that I beat my first Helldive with. I love the Spear, but there are a lot of glaring issues that I find myself dealing with, so much so that I only really use it in certain situations. I needed something with the sheer destructive power of my Spear build, but for every situation. And then I found my answer. The Recoilless rifle. I don't know what happened to this thing because I distinctly remember it being hot garbage on launch. Maybe it was a skill issue, maybe Arrowhead shadow buffed the platform behind our backs. But either way, I'm not sure enough of the community understands how versatile this platform truly is. Today we're going to talk about my elite removal heavy focus build, its wide variety of use cases, and of course tips and tricks that can help you hit the ground running and solo carry any rando to victory. Let's cover the build. So this build is basically just my newest version of the Spear build, but in some cases you'll want to replace the Spear with a Recoilless. I've talked about this build before in previous videos, but I'll go over it again for Helldivers who aren't caught up. The second stratagem that you're going to bring is the Eat, because I mean, come on. It's a good selection all the time with bugs, because Bio Titan, Charger, Shrieker, Nest, bug holes. I mean, it's not really good at that last one, but we'll figure that out. The last two stratagems are going to be my favorite turret combo, the Autocannon and the Gatling Sentry. You'll want to use this when things get bad or when you're setting up and you've got to jump on a target or even some height. As far as I'm concerned, no stratagem in the game kills as many targets per minute as the Autocannon Sentry and the Gatling Sentry. An argument could be made for the Orbital Laser, but that's only got 3 charges and it's done. The 380 is also really high in bug removal and kill count, but the removal speed is much slower thanks to that long cooldown, and it's also a very random strike. The sentries work both at close and long range, and honestly, I don't think they get enough love if you ask this Helldiver. For the main weapon, the armor, the secondary, and the grenade, of course they're your choice, but I'll tell you what I like to move with. For the main weapon, I love to take the Incendiary Breaker because it's amazing. Hopefully we've got something in the back showing just how awesome it is. I even have a couple shorts of the Incendiary Breaker just erasing holes, so it's a great choice when you don't really have anything else to pick here. The secondary, I like to bring the grenade pistol now, and that's kind of new. I used to bring the Redeemer everywhere until I found out how amazing the grenade pistol is. It's not as good at killing bugs as fast, but what it can do is close holes, which is absolutely imperative for a build that's not really good at closing holes. For the grenade, it's really up to you. I love the impact grenade, but really I feel like this is just dealer's choice, whatever you want to bring. So for use cases, I'll break it down as simply as I can. Wide open maps, you want to bring the Spear, and anything else, you want to bring the Recoilless. So what I mean is if you can see 200 to 500 meters in any given direction, the Spear will remove your problems without them knowing where the ordnance even came from. But if you're dealing with tight spaces, big walls, and ominous corridors, you want the Recoilless. Honestly, if you want to be safe, bring the Recoilless because it works in all situations, but you'll start to find out when you can bring that Spear and when you should bring the Recoilless. So we finally made it to the tips. And these tips are going to be just general tips that help this build and maybe tips that can be used when you're using these stratagems in other places. So for the Spear and the Recoilless, you want to reload as soon as possible when you're safe. And always plan your reload. Know when you're going to do it. Know when you've got to leave the fight to take care of that. If you got the backpack on your back on your own, this becomes even more important. When firing, you want to place yourself near a wall or cover so that when you're done firing, you can go behind the wall or cover and reload. Even with bugs, cover works because it breaks their line of sight, which kind of starts to confuse them or send them in a certain direction. It slows them down for sure, and I find it's much more helpful than standing out in the open. With any explosive, you want to aim for armor instead of weak spots. That's that big plate on the top of the head of the Charger, the big plate on the top of the head of the Brood Commander, and for the Bio Titan, I think you actually do need to shoot at the lower part of the head. If you shoot at any of its armor, it should remove it. If you remove any armor, that soft underbelly is now exposed and ready for any bullet the game has to offer, so break out your primary and you can start the hammer away. You should always be calling eats. They should literally litter the map. They're not only for you, they can also get anyone else out of a pinch, so this is really useful when you're outside of solo. Next tip, think of your Sentry as your right-hand man. Make sure to throw it far away from the battle, but where it can see everything so that it doesn't get attacked. Make sure to note all elites on the field before you toss it, and make sure you can handle them before they can get to your Sentry. If you do this, your Sentry can clear multiple holes, multiple hordes, multiple objectives. It's amazing. Next tip. Placing an autocannon on a really high place can single-handedly clear multiple points of interest or an objective or two, so make sure your turret placement is extremely deliberate. I should have some footage in the back showing just where a good placement would be and the path to run after you throw. If you're playing with multiple people, ask your teammates to mark heavies as soon as they see them. You should be focusing on heavies with this build while you do have core clear and crowd control capabilities. The expendable anti-tank and the recoilless or the spear are designed to delete some of the largest enemies in the game, so make sure you're focusing on them. Alright guys, you made it to the end. Before I leave, I wanted to bring some more attention to my 1K Managed Democracy Super Critic giveaway. We're making our way to 500 subs, and when we do, I can pick a winner from the comments of any of my recent videos. So, I covered the build, as well as its use cases and some tips. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Remember, if you like what you saw here, like and subscribe to see more content like this. Let me know in the comments how I did, if you like the build, and if you're going to use it. Also, any tips, and maybe I can make a new build. Thanks, and have a good one, Helldivers.